My name is Bathsheba. To some, I am a villain. To others, a victim. I was the mother of King Solomon, the prosperous king of Israel, and the wife of King David, the most powerful king. Together with David, I committed the greatest sin in the Bible, one that went unnoticed by the people, but not by God. This sin turned my life upside down, but through it, I found the depths of divine grace. Even in the darkest moments of my sin, God's mercy never failed me. Join me as I tell my story, showing how God can transform sin into grace and pain into purpose. On the day I married Uriah, a brave soldier in King David's army, my heart was full of joy and hope. When Uriah appeared before me, his gaze full of love and adoration, I knew we were meant to be. Our union felt pure and true, a reflection of our love. But little did I know that tragedy was lurking, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy everything I held dear. One day, while taking a bath at home, I had a private moment to myself. But suddenly, I felt the presence of someone watching me. To my horror, I saw King David on the palace roof, his eyes fixated on me. A mixture of shame, confusion, and fear flooded over me. What did that look mean for me, for my husband Uriah? I knew something had changed forever, and from that moment, I was trapped in a world I couldn't escape. After that fateful glance, I tried to carry on as if nothing had happened, but my mind was consumed by thoughts of David. One day, a royal messenger came, summoning me to the palace. I knew that my fate was sealed. King David seduced me, and I lost myself in the passion of the moment, forgetting the consequences. But the aftermath was filled with guilt and shame. I had betrayed my husband, and now I had to face the consequences of my actions. Weeks passed, and I realized I was pregnant with David's child. The fear of facing Uriah with this truth overwhelmed me. I felt guilty, terrified of what this would mean for my marriage and my future. The days passed in agony, and I prayed for guidance, wondering how to face the consequences of my sin. I made the decision to confront the truth, no longer willing to live in denial. When I confessed to David about the pregnancy, he came up with a plan to cover up our sin. He tried to get Uriah to sleep with me, hoping the child would be passed off as his. But Uriah, loyal to the soldiers on the battlefield, refused. His loyalty crushed me, and I felt unworthy of his love. Despite David's efforts, our plan failed, and I knew we had to face the truth. David, in a desperate move, ordered Uriah to be placed at the front lines of battle, knowing it would mean his death. The news of Uriah's death shattered me. I felt that my sin had led to this tragedy, and I couldn't bear the weight of the guilt. I mourned for Uriah, and the pain of losing him, the man I had betrayed, felt unbearable. David came to me and offered marriage, a move that I knew would be controversial. But I was pregnant with his child, and in a society where single mothers were ostracized, I had no choice but to accept. Our marriage was built on betrayal, and I struggled to find peace. Yet, in the midst of my pain, I found comfort in the life growing inside me, the only reason to keep going. The day my son was born, I felt both joy and fear. But soon, I noticed something was wrong. My son was sick, and no matter how much I prayed, he grew weaker. David and I fasted, praying for his health, but nothing changed. I felt guilty, believing that my betrayal had brought this sickness upon him. The silence from heaven was deafening, and every day I prayed for a miracle. Despite our prayers, my son passed away. The grief was unbearable. I held his lifeless body in my arms, overwhelmed by guilt and despair. I wondered if this was the punishment for my sins. How could I go on living, knowing that my actions had led to this moment? Amid my sorrow, David came to me with compassion and comfort. He spoke of God's mercy and encouraged me to have faith. Then, I discovered I was pregnant again. This time, I was filled with fear, but also hope. David and I believed that this child was a sign of God's forgiveness. When Solomon was born, our hearts were filled with peace. He was our second chance, our promise of a brighter future. As Solomon grew, I saw his extraordinary destiny. When David's health declined, the question of who would succeed him became urgent. Adoniah, David's son, proclaimed himself king, threatening Solomon's life. I couldn't let that happen. I went to David, pleading for him to keep his promise and declare Solomon as his rightful heir. With God's guidance, David agreed, and Solomon was anointed king. Solomon's anointing was a moment of profound emotion. As he was crowned king, I felt a deep peace, knowing that God's plan was unfolding. Solomon, now a wise and strong leader, was destined for greatness. I was by his side, guiding him with love and devotion, knowing that his reign would bring prosperity and wisdom to Israel. As Solomon ascended the throne, I felt immense pride. My son, chosen by God, would lead our people. Together, we faced challenges, making decisions that would shape the future of Israel. In my heart, I knew that all the pain, loss, and guilt had led me to this moment. With God's grace, Solomon's reign would be a testament to redemption, and I, Bathsheba, would be by his side, helping him fulfill his divine purpose. If you were moved by my story, I invite you to learn about the father of nations, Abraham, the man who is the foundation of three great religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.